Right now, human blood plasma accounts for over 1.6% of total United States exports by value, exceeding exports of corn, soybeans, or commercial coal. A single commercial plasma center pays a donor $50 for a pint of yellow fluid, processes it through automated centrifuges, and sells the extracted proteins to pharmaceutical giants for over $600 per liter. This is not traditional blood donation. This is a $25 billion global industrial extraction engine powered by lower-income neighborhoods, strict regulatory moats, and cold economic game theory. To understand how a plasma center operates, you must understand the biological difference between whole blood and source plasma. Whole blood contains red blood cells, which take 4 to 8 weeks to regenerate, limiting whole blood donation to once every 56 days. But plasma is 90% water and 7% vital proteins, including albumin, immunoglobulins, and clotting factors. Your body replaces lost plasma volume within 48 hours simply by drinking fluids. Because of this rapid recovery, the United States Food and Drug Administration allows individuals to donate plasma twice within a 7-day period, up to 104 times per year. Out of nearly 200 nations on Earth, only 5 legally permit commercial plasma centers to compensate donors with cash or prepaid debit cards: the United States, Germany, Austria, Hungary, and the Czech Republic. Because America has the largest population, permissive frequency rules, and explicit legal authorization for donor compensation, the United States has become the OPEC of human plasma. Over 70% of the world's raw source plasma originates inside commercial collection centers scattered across American strip malls. A commercial plasma center is engineered for high-throughput industrial extraction. When a donor enters a facility, first-time donors undergo automated biometric identity verification and cross-reference checks against the National Donor Deferral Registry. This centralized database prevents donors from visiting multiple competing plasma centers on the same day, which would risk severe dehydration, iron deficiency, and protein depletion. Next comes the medical screening room. Every donor undergoes a mandatory fingerstick blood test before every single donation. Desktop Micro-Hematocrit centrifuges measure red blood cell proportions and total protein concentration in real time. If a donor's hematocrit falls below 38% or total protein drops below 6 grams per deciliter, the automated screening system flags an immediate deferral. This protects the donor from anemia and ensures the raw plasma yields sufficient pharmaceutical antibodies for downstream processing. Once cleared by medical screeners, the donor steps onto the main phlebotomy floor housing 40 to 80 specialized donation beds. Beside each bed sits an automated plasmapheresis machine costing $20,000 per unit, manufactured by industry leaders Haemonetics or Fresenius Kabi. A certified phlebotomist inserts a 16-gauge needle into the antecubital vein, connecting the line to a single-use sterile plastic centrifuge bowl. FDA regulations establish strict donor weight tiers to determine maximum allowable collection volumes per session. Donors weighing between 110 and 149 pounds can donate up to 690 milliliters of plasma. Donors weighing 150 to 174 pounds can donate up to 750 milliliters. Donors weighing over 175 pounds can donate up to 880 milliliters per session. The machine begins the automated draw cycle. Whole blood is drawn from the arm, mixing with anticoagulant citrate dextrose to prevent clotting inside the sterile tubing. The blood enters the spinning centrifuge bowl at high speeds, ranging from 3,000 to 5,000 revolutions per minute. Dense red blood cells push outward against the bowl wall, while lighter, amber-colored plasma floats to the center and siphons into an 800 milliliter collection bottle. Once the bowl fills with red blood cells, the machine automatically pauses the draw cycle and reverses flow, pumping the red blood cells back into the donor along with 500 milliliters of sterile normal saline solution. The entire automated process takes 45 to 60 minutes per donor. Operating companies select center locations based on demographic algorithms targeting lower median household incomes, college towns, Rust Belt industrial centers, and international border crossings. In border cities like El Paso, McAllen, and Brownsville, thousands of foreign nationals cross on B1 or B2 visas to donate plasma multiple times per week, providing critical supplementary income while supplying the center with steady, predictable volume. Federal law under Title 42 of the United States Code prohibits purchasing human organs or tissue directly. To remain fully compliant, commercial operators compensate donors for their time and physical commitment using reloadable prepaid debit cards. To maximize facility bed utilization, operators construct tiered compensation structures. A donor might receive $50 for their first weekly donation, but $80 for their second donation in the same calendar week. If a donor misses their second appointment, their monthly earnings drop significantly. This behavioral game theory keeps donor beds full 6 days a week, maximizing throughput against fixed center overhead. Once collected, raw plasma bottles are barcoded and tracked through centralized software systems before entering specialized blast freezers within 6 hours. Immediate blast freezing is essential to preserve heat-label clotting factors like factor VIII. Industrial blast freezers drop internal cabinet temperatures to minus 30 degrees Celsius or colder, instantly freezing liquid plasma into solid amber blocks. Secondary redundant liquid nitrogen cooling loops ensure zero temperature drift during power outages. Automated liquid handling robotics extract samples for nucleic acid testing, screening for viral markers including HIV, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and parvovirus B19. Furthermore, federal standards mandate a 60-day inventory quarantine hold. If a donor tests positive for a blood-borne pathogen on a subsequent visit weeks later, all plasma collected from that donor during the prior 60 days is retrieved from the freezer and incinerated. After passing the mandatory 60-day quarantine hold, solid plasma blocks ship in temperature-monitored refrigerated ISO shipping containers equipped with automated satellite data loggers to bioprocessing refineries known as plasma fractionation facilities. A modern fractionation plant costs $500 million to $1 billion to construct, featuring stainless steel piping networks, clean rooms, industrial alcohol chillers, and sterile ultrafiltration systems. The core process relies on the Cohn Cold-Ethanol fractionation method developed during World War II. Solid plasma blocks are melted into multi-thousand-liter pools. Engineers adjust liquid temperature, pH levels, ionic strength, and ethanol concentrations in precise stages. As ethanol concentrations rise and temperatures drop below freezing, specific proteins precipitate out of suspension at distinct thresholds. Centrifuges and filter presses isolate these protein pastes for purification, viral inactivation, nanofiltration, and sterile freeze drying. Because of extreme capital costs and strict regulatory licensing enforced by the FDA and European Medicines Agency, 4 multinational corporations control 85% of global plasma fractionation capacity: CSL Behring from Australia, Grifols from Spain, Takeda from Japan, and Octapharma from Switzerland. The economic yield of a liter of source plasma is divided into 4 main therapeutic product categories. First, intravenous immunoglobulin, or IVIG, accounts for over 50% of total plasma revenue. Immunoglobulins are concentrated antibody proteins used to treat primary immunodeficiency diseases, chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy, and various autoimmune disorders. Because immunoglobulins cannot be synthesized artificially or grown in genetically engineered cell cultures, human plasma is the sole raw material source on Earth. Purified IVIG sells wholesale for $100 to $150 per gram, resulting in annual treatment costs of $50,000 to over $100,000 per patient. Second, human serum albumin maintains intravascular oncotic pressure, keeping fluid inside blood vessels during trauma, burn care, and liver failure. Albumin represents 25% of total plasma revenue. Third, plasma-derived clotting factors like factor VIII and factor IX treat hemophilia A and hemophilia B. While recombinant alternatives exist, plasma-derived factors remain essential for patients developing immune inhibitors against synthetic options. Fourth, specialized hyperimmunes like RhoGAM prevent Ray incompatibility in pregnant mothers, commanding extreme per-dose price premiums. Building out a new 50-bed plasma center requires $3 million to $5 million in upfront capital expenditure. This covers cleanroom, HVAC installations, medical gas lines, backup diesel generators, blast freezers, and 50 plasmapheresis towers. A mature facility collects 50,000 to 70,000 donations per year, yielding 45,000 to 60,000 liters of source plasma. The direct cost structure per donation breaks down cleanly. Donor compensation averages $50 to $60. Single-use sterile tubing, centrifuge bowls, and saline bags add $20 to $25. Laboratory testing costs $10 to $15. Medical labor, including nurses and phlebotomists, adds $20 to $30. And facility rent, utilities, freezer electricity, and insurance add $10 per draw. Total collection costs range from $120 to $160 per bottle, or $150 to $190 per liter. The center sells raw plasma to biopharmaceutical fractionators under long-term supply agreements for $350 to $550 per liter, generating gross profit margins of $150 to $300 per liter. For a facility collecting 50,000 liters annually, gross profits reach $7 million to $12 million, delivering net operating margins between 35 and 55% and paying back initial build-out costs in under 24 months. However, operating a commercial plasma collection network involves extreme operational vulnerabilities. The FDA enforces strict Code of Federal Regulations Title 21 standards. Documentation errors, improper sterile technique, or deferral protocol failures can trigger warning letters, Form 483 observations, or license suspensions, causing massive financial losses as trained donors migrate to competing facilities across town. Furthermore, because 70% of global plasma originates from U.S. donors, disruptions like the COVID-19 pandemic caused global shortages of IVIG and hemophilia treatments, forcing hospitals to ration life-saving therapies. Ultimately, the commercial plasma center represents one of the most financially lucrative and operationally complex sectors in modern healthcare. By combining low-cost retail phlebotomy with automated centrifuges, cold chain logistics, and biopharmaceutical fractionation, operators turn physical beds into an unstoppable financial revenue engine.